Okay, guys, so we are at 7:35.
Cool.
I think that we should start now. And I know that, from doing this before, some people will come in. I will let them in as they join our waiting room.
Great.
Just to set the stage a little bit, my name is Carla LaBianca. You guys know me as one of the co-admins from Soma at Home. And tonight, I am so pleased to toss this over to our very own Sarah G., my co-admin on Soma at Home.
Hi, everyone.
And John Cassidy of Budget Blinds. So I don't know about you guys, but Sarah and I thought this would be such a great topic, because if there's one thing that confuses us, or confuses me rather, and maybe some of you, it's how do I style my windows? I don't know if you can see the windows behind me, but they have nothing on them. So, so hopefully this is going to be very informative. It will be recorded. So if you miss any part of this or need to bow out, I will get this up in the next couple of days. If you have any questions, please write them in the chat and I will read them off for Sarah and John. Without further ado, my friends, let's get started. So Sarah, you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, John. I thought this would be a really good chat to have because as an interior designer, one of the biggest questions I get is, I don't know what to do with my windows. I need help with window treatments. And I find it one of the more complicated parts of my job. I don't, unless I'm talking about curtains, I don't really know much about blinds. I don't know why they're so expensive, which nobody knows. John's going to help us get to the bottom of that. I know there's a reason. I just don't know what the reason is. And it's do I want inside mount? Do I want outside mount? There are all these different factors that go into it. That every time I have a conversation with someone about window treatments and blinds in particular, it's like an education. So I thought perhaps me learning a little bit more might help. And so let's get the party started. John, why are window treatments so overwhelming for people?
Good question. Thanks. Thanks for having me here, by the way. And thanks to everybody in Maplewood and South Orange and everywhere in my territory, Millburn, Short Hills, West Orange, Union. It's a great place to be, and I've been able to make a fantastic run at the business thanks to the support of the community. So, yeah, window coverings can be overwhelming. Heaven knows, before I got into the business, they were overwhelming for me, and they can still be overwhelming because there's just a lot of choices. So what I usually try to do is like boil it down to sort of reasons, like pain points, like why would somebody be getting in touch with Budget Blinds, with a window covering source? And so here we go. There are usually two main reasons. And the first is light or heat management. Help me, I'm trying to have breakfast every morning, but the sun's hitting my eyes. My toddler is driven mad by being unable to see, his or her oatmeal. Like this is a big one. That, and the second one is privacy control. This is maybe even a little bit bigger. Living in a fishbowl, no fun. Hits people, largely it's people who just moved into a house, but can, become acute at any time, during the course of your life. Usually at night, you realize, oh my gosh, I'm on display here. So privacy control is the other one. So light control, privacy management, and then sort of design is sort of secondary, or sort of like, rounding out a look is sort of reason two behind these a 1A and 1B. And so those are the two like big reasons. So boil down to what it is, why you're getting in touch with us, one of those two. And then we overwhelm you with products. So here we go. And I'll go over some products real quick in sort of like tiers. The first tier is, oh yeah, products. I'm working a little bit ahead. Here we go. First tier is kind of practical. And this is really just function, like help me out, get that glare off me, get those neighbors out of my living room. And these are your real basic products. The classic.
Sorry to interrupt, but does that mean they're the most cost-effective solutions generally speaking?
Yes, cost effective and just and I'm sure that's a big part of it. But yeah, most people like go to and you know when we talk to people pre-consultation and we ask if they have any products in mind, these are the ones that sort of come up most often. And these are most of what we're installing. Honestly, this is most of our year's work. Faux wood blinds, it's wood blinds, the classic. Faux wood came along. It's a composite plastic material, easy to clean, super durable, very cost effective. And they present nice little sort of like horizontal too. They're modern. Depending on if you do a top treatment, you can make them very appealing. Open roll shade is another kind of practical way in. As you can see along the top, there's a gap. On the sides, you're going to get gaps regardless of whether it's an open roll or not. With the open roll on the top, there's a gap, and you see the sort of the machinery or how it works. It works pretty well now. A lot of people are going for this, yes, because of cost, but also because it's a nice modern look. People don't mind seeing behind the curtain, if you will, about like how the shade works. Yeah. So that's a way to go. This material is what's called a solar shade, and it comes in like a percentage rating, like a 1%, 5%, 7%, and that refers to how much UV protection you get. 1% gives you 99%, blocks out 99% of the UV rays. This is a 1%. The 5%, 7% have a looser weave, but they're real like practical. They're a little easier to clean, not as easy as a faux wood blind, but they're pretty durable. And that's the other reason that they're really popular.
John, if I can interject for a minute. So I just, as you know, I just purchased open roll shades. And one of the reasons why I liked this particular solution was because my research told me that it was actually good for historical homes. In fact, the roller shade was first used in the United States in 1812. If anybody is interested in the history behind that, fun fact. And so, I live in a Victorian, as some of you know, and that made a lot of sense to me to pair blinds with curtains for my antique historic home. So
I also just think it's a nice, clean look. I think it was
and it's modern too, isn't it? Like it's really one of those things where I think, especially in South Orange, Maplewood, and West Orange, Montclair, surrounding areas, we're always trying to find those products that help us bridge from the antique house into modern sensibilities. So it's a really nice product.
Yeah, that's a great point. And modern works in these classic houses. It all depends on how far you want to lean into stuff.
Yeah,
do a lot of work. There are enough sort of like modern homes in the area so that we do work there too. But in Short Hills, virtually everything that's going up now is a modern. So we're doing a lot of open roll work over there.
That's right.
And these behind me, these are open roll, outside mount. This is an inside mount, this picture here. But yeah, roller shade is a great sort of like simple one layer solution. And then we have honeycomb shades in the third position over here to the right. And what you're seeing there has a little bit of a bell or a whistle with a top down format. It also, of course, does bottom up, just like a roller shade would, or like virtually any window treatment would. But the material, the honeycomb shade, this is it's a 3/4 inch cell, is the most common sort of format, and it's price friendly, and it's super. It's a great utility play. Um,
I have a question about the top down. Is there a way to do it where you don't have all of the sort of strings or, whatever, how the top, they're attached at the top, and then this, you pull the shade down, and then you can still see the strings that kind of attach it. Is there some kind of a way around that? I'm assuming if there is, it's more expensive, but I'm just curious to know.
There is. It's not that much more expensive. It's our vendors. We have three main vendors: Norman Window Fashions, Custom Brand Groups, and then Springs Enlightened Style. Norman has a product called a Smart Fit, and it has the cords, they run along the outside, so they're nice and snug to the inside of the window frame. And when you're looking out the window and the top is down on the shade, you don't see them.
Got it.
That's an option. I for some reason, I like, and again, so much of this ends up being like a personal sort of preference. When the shade is all the way up, you still have those cords. They're still there, right up there, albeit up against the frame of the window, but they're there at all times.
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the only thing I sort of caution people about when going for that Norman product. The typical product, it dangles like a shade does. And when you have it up, all the cords are tucked away. But to answer your question, yes, we have products that have the cords on the outside and permit, when you have the top down, permit for a completely clear view.
Cool.
All right, so that's your practical group. Next tier is Function Plus Design. I'm making all these up. These aren't really things, but it helped me kind of like categorize.
Now.
Yeah, great. Make them things. Help yourself. So roller shades, same as the open roll, really nice, simple, modern, thin layer of all kinds of materials. We talked about the solar materials. Those have more of like a synthetic feel. What we've got here in this Roller Shade Plus Valance image is it's fully opaque, but fully light filtering as well. And to the touch, it's more of like a cloth or like a textile. Yeah. It's from the Breeze line from Norman. And the Valance really finishes it off. This is for people who aren't as much into that whole like modern sensibility. That fabric Valance it's nice. It does finish things off, but it's not small. It's 4.5 inches. There are more sort of compact cassettes that have a thing that kind of contours and reflects the shape of the roll, but still kind of has something for it to all tuck into when you do have it rolled up. These are selling really well right now, roller shades. And you'll see later on, we have a nice selection of prints, and the roller shades come a long way from the vinyl thing that you pulled down and it snapped up.
Yep. It's so true. There's so many different prints.
I know. I'm loving the simple roller shade with the print. I think it feels like really
pretty.
Fresh. Yeah.
And the original ones used back in the 1800s had these gorgeous prints on them. You can actually go online and look at them. Some of them are very ornate.
Yeah, we saw somebody wanted room darkening products, and so we gave them honeycomb shades recently to darken the room, but we had to remove these really interesting print roller shades. Yeah. And I wish you could reuse custom products. It's really tough to do, but actually, these are reused. These are salvaged from a bad measure. I like the roller shades. There's a lot of fun can be had with them from a design perspective.
Yeah.
Depending on our vendor and stuff like that. Next up in the function of design, I got a 2-inch hybrid pleat honeycomb. So that's the same as the top-down image you saw in the slide before. It's just a larger pleat. And it just has a little more volume. It comes, the hybrid pleat in particular comes in some really nice linen-y materials. It's very delicate and just has a little bit more volume. Operates like a regular cellular shade, but offers a little bit more in the way of sort of design toward the front. And then wovens. Wovens are really, really big right now.
They're my
As you
favorite.
can see, yeah, the textures is really cool. You can do a lot with it. You can add to a room quite a bit with woven woods. Whites, lighter colors right now. It used to be, known as sort of a bamboo shade, what was called a bamboo shade. And you could get like a grassier variety, but it was mostly in like earth tones. And now the lighter colors have sort of migrated from the beach, like white woven woods were very popular down there, and they made it up to the burbs, and like grays and charcoals and even some light colors. We have some that sort of even seem kind of like blue, sort of indigo. Really, really nice. This one has no filter, as you can, well, maybe you can't see, but I'll tell you, it has no filter. And you could put a filter on the back for privacy, and you'd still get most of that light coming through. Opted for the no filter here, and that worked nicely. The valance across the top has a room darkening liner so that you don't see the machinery of the woven wood in silhouette. But woven's really popular, really fun in the way of adding to the design of things.
They layer really well with curtains.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, all kinds of sort of like, you can really get some depth out of the textures. And let's see, next up, tier 3, the premium products. I smushed them together. I didn't show the silhouettes, but people are usually familiar with the silhouette. It's a Hunter Douglas product. These are like sheer, they're essentially sheer shades, also called by many sheer shades. But like a silhouette is essentially like a fabric blind. It's something that you can, when you bring it down, you have to get it all the way to the bottom to do it. But then you can move the sort of like cloth louvers to an open position, and you get a better visibility. This image right here is a dual or a zebra shade. Also, you can see there's a sheer, so you can see through it, but still get some sort of like delicate light diffusion through it. And then solid bands. And as you raise or lower it, those sort of like cross over each other, and you can produce a fully opaque roller shade effect, or you can get to here where you have a zebra shade effect, the stripes of the shade. Those are really popular now. Silhouettes a little bit less so. I certainly still sell a lot of them, but not as much. Zebra shades, people ask for those quite a bit. And premium product, they're not inexpensive for whatever that's worth. Which brings us to Roman shades, which are also beautiful and a little more on the pricey end, but they do, a lot of what a soft treatment does, like drapery, but for articulated for one window. And they add some nice volume, add some nice texture, and obviously like softness.
Yeah.
When they're raised all the way up, they have a real nice pleat to them that it's up and out of the way, but it creates a nice visual toward the top of the window. These are waterfall, so they have no valance, but you can get them with a valance, and these are cordless. All the stuff I'm showing you is cordless, and we'll get to operations later, but cordless is sort of where we prefer to go.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then third in our premium product slide is shutters. Good old shutters. It's the product, the only product that we sell that has been proven to add to resale value in houses. It's like a built-in.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really nice, solid, permanent feeling.
I guess it's not so taste dependent either. Like you pick a Roman shade in a pattern, it's very much to your own taste. And these are they seem more architectural. So that actually makes sense.
Yeah. Are they made of wood, John? Or
It's a composite. The frames, well, it also depends on, we have different vendors who make them fully out of like composite material. But what we're looking at here, the frames are made of wood, and the louvers are a composite material, but it is like wood based. It's a wood product.
Okay.
they're substantial, like they're heavy. And they add some like gravity to a situation and some permanence. And, you know, most people operate them, as you see here, just louvers. 99% of the time, you're just opening the louvers for a peek outside and for some natural light. You can open the doors, but you got to worry about, you know, the rest of the space in the room when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one has a nice arch sort of specialty to it. They come in all shapes and sizes. You can do great things with shutters. You just have to be ready for the lead time because they take forever to be made.
How long? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, it depends on how specific you get. Our Norman, again, is the main manufacturer that we work with. They used to produce everything in China. The stuff that they do produce in China is 3 months, but they have a North American arm. And if you don't pull too many bells and whistles, if you go kind of like a regular 2.5-inch louver with a typical frame, we can do it inside of a month. So that's a very small victory. Because a lot of people still waiting on shutters from last year.
Wow.
God bless them for their patience. I try and make it clear. It's a long wait, but it's a nice product. So
You were very clear when I didn't buy shutters, but you were very clear about lead times when
I know. I remember.
Yes.
Interesting.
wovens and shutters are a little tricky.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fourth here, where did I go? Oh yeah, then we got drapery. So up here in the upper left is kind of a starting point, decorative panels. Here we've got them on the bay windows, sort of at the corner points for a bay window, just sort of covering up that space, offering a second layer to these roller shades. Those are purely decorative. You're not going to be operating those.
So they're fixed.
Yes, exactly. And we have a nice program, a nice, relatively affordable program for those, but relatively affordable in drapery is sort of like a different stratosphere. So, but this is like it is a nice and possible starting point. You know what I mean? And then we go to sort of practical drapery, you know, stuff that you want to use for privacy, for light management. You know, and this is how most people think of drapery. And so this lovely golden pinch pleat here is covering up a TV. So you open it up and you got a TV. Usually it's covering up a window, but as you can see, it's practical. It's working. You know, considerations of like fullness, as you can see when it's drawn, you still have some fullness for that great like texture that you get from
that's actually one of the things that most people don't think of. They, no matter how wide your window is, they just buy one panel and that's fine. And if you have some of these houses in Maplewood and South Orange have significant windows. And then if you just have the single panel, it looks too puny. It looks like this tiny little skinny line. So that's a really important thing with curtains, is making sure that you still have fullness when they're drawn.
Yeah,
exactly.
Can you guys talk a little bit about, please, how to place curtains, drapery around whatever this, you know, around molding? So for instance, are there rules? And if you mess with those rules, is your house going to look funny? So for instance, the drapery rod, does it go into the woodwork? Does it go above the millwork? How far off from the center of the window does drapery need to be hung, right? I mean,
it's really tricky because it really depends on your molding.
Right, exactly.
In sort of a standard, in sort of a standard Maplewood house. Yeah. Like once you get into the Victorians, like you're talking, you know, with beautiful, intricate molding and things.
Right.
That's really a sort of case by case. But for the most part, in a typical window, like the windows in my home, you want to hang a rod high and wide. So you want it a few inches below the ceiling so that it doesn't look crammed up there. Okay. And you want it wide enough. Usually it's about, I don't know, depends on the size of your window and the size of your drapery. So you want to be able to open the curtains completely and not have them cover your window. So that will make your window feel bigger, and it will also allow all the light possible to shine through.
Okay.
High and wide. And the first time you see something hung high and wide and you're not used to it, it can look a little funny, but you really get used to it. And then it's one of those things where you just notice it. Or maybe that's just me.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Because I think that's such a confusing thing for some people.
Yeah. But if you have crazy moldings and things, it's really, sometimes you have to hang it on the molding. Sometimes, I don't know, it can get complicated.
Even below the molding. I mean, I know in our house, I have molding that goes into a corner. So
Yeah,
there's actually no
It's a whole
way
other ballgame.
to put it above unless I had a curtain rod specifically made to curve.
Which you can do, and it's actually not as expensive as
Yeah.
people think. Every time people hear the word
Oh, that's
custom,
good to know. Okay.
they panic. But there are places you can get, reasonably priced custom curtain rods.
Okay.
John, do you guys do custom rods? I know you're mostly a blinds.
We
company.
do.
You do
Yeah,
custom rods. Okay.
We have, preferred hardware, like Roly is the name of the brand, and they have a bunch of lines within it. Aria, of the Finio company, but Roly, ROWLEY, is the company we source most of our hardware from. We
Okay.
can hop around a little bit, but they're consistently, they almost always have what you're looking for.
Mhm. All right, cool.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Sure.
Keep going.
All right. So that's the traverse of it all. And then, yeah, you can go real big. I won't pretend like I did this job. My pal down in Florida did it. A 2-story motorized drapery. The drapes alone were probably, a couple 100 pounds. You really got to think about how you are rigging this. Motorization is really the only way to go. You're not going to be able to manually move that stuff, but it offers a really nice dramatic look to the space. And you can pull them if you want to do a screening party. You can pull them, and you get some real nice room darkening or light filtering as you prefer. But it really, and you have this in this picture in particular, you have these high windows, these transom windows that aren't used. You're never gonna open them. You're never gonna really think about them much. But these drapes kind of help draw your attention to them, and yeah, and I like how this one turned out. So yeah, use your imagination, get crazy with drapery. That's an option too.
Mhm.
And what's our next slide? Oh, motorized. Yeah, motorized is a ton of what we're doing now. This one has a nifty little video with it. It's this is the Lutron product,
Mhm.
and Lutron is sort of our leading automator. They started in electrical lighting, and they moved to sort of natural lighting and sort of window light management about 20 years ago, and they're still the best. They're the best automation. You can see these these sync really well. They also are nearly silent. So Lutron is where I usually go, and this is another solar shade. Lutron isn't long on sort of design options. They're not bad. They're getting better and better, but it's more about the technology. And it's great to be able to hit a button and get all the light management or privacy that you need without having to leave your easy chair.
They're also really good if you have like giant windows that are too high and you can't get to them. You just can't reach.
Definitely. Yeah. And motorization that's the best solution for that now. We're dealing with it more and more. We're trending away from corded products, but you still kind of need them for those high, hard to reach windows. But and when motorization for budget reasons or whatever is not an option, but motorization is becoming more and more reasonable. It's going to take a while before it becomes super affordable, but it's a good solution for those hard to reach windows. So that's how, yeah, I think I've just underlined the fact that it's overwhelming, but this is, this is, those are the things, light management, privacy, control, that's what you want to think of, like, why am I doing this on the way in? And then those are the assortment of products and options. We did it, what did we do it in a half hour?
Yeah.
It's not too tough. There are a lot, and usually, when we're, just speaking from my sort of experience, people see stuff, they respond to stuff, and you narrow down pretty quickly.
So what is the best way if I'm going to call you? I've never done, first time homeowner, I have some issues. Like, what are some things that I should think of in preparation for you coming to my house?
Well, you're nice to ask that question, and anybody who wants to help us do sort of like some advanced work. Yeah, I know. Oh, it's almost like I knew this question was coming.
It's almost like that.
But it's nice. It's really nice for people to do the advanced work. We appreciate it, but it's like that's part of what we do, and that's part of what we offer, and that is something that you should be happy, or you should feel free to take off your plate. But like our model is like, starts with a phone call, email, text. We get, as detailed as we can, find out about the scope of the project, products that you may or may not, hopefully products that you would like to talk about. Otherwise, I can sort of like try and glean through conversation what might do the trick, and then budget parameters. So the early phone call is great, and it can be really helpful for both sides to figure out whether or not Budget Blinds is the right sort of the right people for the job. And the education and exploration is part of what we offer. And it's part of, it can be pretty enjoyable. We're resources as well as sellers. Obviously, at the end of the day, we are looking to sell you some stuff for your windows, but we're there for any questions that you have. And I try and, I and my colleagues try and pick off any questions or any sort of like anything that could help toward educating somebody who's interested in the category. And like I said, never hurts for a person to look into products. We have preferred vendors with websites, and we can send you there in advance or after we speak. And then the on-site consultation, when everybody decides that's a good next step, it's really good for both sides, because it helps us see the reality of the situation, the windows that you're really interested in dealing with, and then the customer also sort of builds on and starts to understand the potential of the job through products and materials, and hopefully having it explained clearly by yours truly.
So just something about that. Before you came to my house, I ordered a bunch of samples, and I just want to say it's really not necessary. Like, nothing that I had samples of did I end up with, right? Like we went, I don't remember, probably because the things that I wanted were like $8 million, and you talked me down off the ledge and steered me into a more reasonable price point. But it's just not necessary. You came and you had giant books full of everything that I could possibly want to look at. So if just, for those out there who are thinking about going through this process, you don't need to wait until your samples come and then call and make the appointment, because it's just, it's not, I don't think it's necessary.
Yes, I got a van full of stuff to look at, all kinds of hand samples, small versions of a cellular shade, of, a Roman shade. I have it right here in my ridiculous home office. So like we have all kinds of stuff like that on the truck, and then materials for every situation. But to your credit, Sarah, it's always great to to have somebody who has already taken some steps into the space and is curious enough to sort of like, you knew you were heading in a woven zone, and we took a look at the swatches you had, and then I have other vendors who, for whatever reason, like maybe they're more affordable, and I've like, that's often on my mind. But it's also like I have vendors who have great selections in woven categories, and some vendor who has a better sort of look at roller shades than the vendor who handles wovens. And so I can try and steer you into like a better place for whatever reason, be it budget, be it materials, be it specialties.
Cool.
All right, so anybody out there, do you have any questions that you'd like to ask John? I'm happy to read them off. If you have anything you want to put in the chat.
Let's see, chat.
In the
Okay.
meantime, while we're waiting, what are some of the latest like trends that you've been seeing?
Oh my gosh, again, you're asking everything that can be answered by a slide.
We're just
Yeah,
thanks.
it's eerie. So trends, like I was saying before, and as you know, as a preeminent designer in Maplewood, Sarah, you know, the wovens are really big right now, and the lighter tones are making a big run. Grays, charcoals, and the whites really popular. And you can see it really, it's adding something substantial to sort of a theme to a room. It's helping out in addition to whatever, like wall hangings, paint, furniture. You can opt for something a little more active on your windows to make things more complete, or more sort of what you had in mind.
It looks polished. It looks,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like the cherry on top.
Yes. So wovens, light wovens, other roller shades in neutrals are classic. Those are always going to be useful. But prints, we have some vendors who are really getting into this. Really popular in kids' rooms. I should have given an example of a kids' room, but these are nice, sort of like nice ways to, again, to make that window treatment a little more than just something practical for light or privacy. Go ahead and add it to your motif and make it something more active.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Bob Barnett. Bob, it's good to see you here. Do any window covering manufacturers provide R values for their products? So many Soma homes are older with drafty windows. It's a great question.
We do. All of our vendors, the cellular shade, the honeycomb, is the product that really helps out with that, and has sort of like a measurable like R value that we can sort of look into. I don't usually have them handy at the consultation, but that's kind of like a follow-up. But like shutters are the best, sort of the best product for insulation when we're talking about R values. Then probably cellulars, roller shades, is as nice as they are, not
Right.
so helpful in terms of insulation. But
I would
yeah,
think,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
would, yeah, I would think with shutters too, since it's more part of the window and more people would keep it, that an inspector might look at that and count it as well. Like if you're doing a remodeling and are required for certain R values in terms of the windows, that the shutters themselves might, may be able to tip you over the edge.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, and it is like that's it. Shutters are they're more of a built-in than a window treatment. You know what I mean? So and they, and on our end, they require experienced installers. I've put in a few shutters and I've survived it, but man, I really like when the installers come through for me.
All right, anything else, guys? So John is very easy to get in touch with if you do have any questions or do you want to contact him for a consultation. Of course, you can always DM Sarah or myself for his contact info. All right. Anything else you guys want to add? There it is, right there. There's his phone.
Yeah, I was just, sorry, I had a bunch of other slides. This was my attempt at comedy. Yeah, get in touch if you have this. There's my number, and we have a Facebook page, and I'm sure if you Google us, I certainly hope we'll come up at the at or near the top of your search. But the number's here if you want to take that down.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much. This was fun talking about blinds.
Yeah, this
It
was great.
was.
Thank you, John, for demystifying a bunch of my questions. As you know, it took me a long time to figure out what I was going to do, and I'm still figuring it out, but this was great. Thank
Pull
you.
the trigger, Carla. Pull it.
I did, but not on
I
all
did.
of them. So, baby
Gotta be
steps
nice.
for me. It takes
Baby
me
steps.
forever to research everything. So,
I know.
Yes,
I love
you-
that about you, because that means I can just call you and say, what do you think about?
exactly.
And you just tell me what you think.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Like, thorough is a good way to go at it. So Carla, you got it figured out, and I think you're going to be
Well,
happy.
thank you guys. Thank you. Yes, I'm really excited, John. I'm really excited. All right, guys. So to wrap this up, as I said in the beginning of this meeting, we are going to post this so that it lives in an evergreen state on Resource at Home. We're super excited about this series. Our next one is coming to you next month, and we're going to talk about this crazy real estate market that we find ourselves in. So that's in March. And then in April, we're going to have Nareed Saeed talk about tile.
Fun.
And June, I think you're up in June, Ms. G, to talk about curating and not decorating. And then we have a bunch of other stuff into the summer. So we are actively working to bring you guys lots of fun online stuff for the future. Okay, so with that, I will say good night and thank you again.
Good
Good night.
Thanks.
She
Bye, guys.
froze. Bye. Good night.
Night.